movement has perpetuated one of the greatest crimes against the American people that I've ever seen. They want to convince us that changing the food coloring in Doritos from one kind of red dye to another is this gigantic win.
So wait a minute. Eliminating food dyes is a big win because food manufacturers make foods hyper palatable. So Doritos, for example, some of the chips are spicier than others, and they're messing with the psychology of appetite when they do that. They add in chemicals such as MSG, which makes food hyper palatable. You're not satisfied, so you keep eating. They make, junk food with the least amount of protein possible. It's high carb, high fat, and protein is the most satisfying macronutrient of the three. So changing the food dyes is a really good step because now foods will be less hyper palatable. That's a big deal.
Not the Doritos is the problem. The dye that is in the Doritos is the problem.
Exactly. So I just explained how the dye is part of the problem because it makes Doritos more and more hyper palatable. You just keep eating them and you become obese.
They want to convince us that In-N-Out burgers, changing the oil that they fry their food in, not even changing it, leaving it the same, but adding saturated fat to it, which is atherogenic, is actually a great win.
Saturated fat is atherogenic only in the presence of a high sugar, high carbohydrate diet. A low carb diet with saturated fat is completely healthy. So as they're trying to reduce junk food, like eliminating pop out of the SNAP program, that's going to reduce atherogenicity across the population of people that use that service.
They want to convince us that Coca-Cola, changing from high fructose corn syrup to cane sugar, is a huge win.
50% of high fructose corn syrup is contaminated with mercury. It's a huge win.
They're not fighting against pop. They're not fighting that people are drinking too much of this.
They are fighting against pop because they remove pop out of the SNAP program.
It's junk food, the fries, the pop, the Doritos, whatever.
I give up. This guy has no nutrition knowledge. He doesn't understand hyperpalatability. He understands Mediterranean diet, which is the most studied diet in all of medicine, but yet it's a low protein, high carbohydrate failure of a diet. There's other diets that are way better, especially the low carbohydrate diet. And so he just is upset that his side is losing because we got RFK Jr. and he's shaking things up the way that it should have been shaken up decades ago. And for the first time, now we have a chance. And people like him are going to lose money because medicine will need less surgeries and less drugs if everybody gets healthy. So you can let people like this ramble on and vent their frustrations with the changes that are occurring. These changes are good. They might be slow. Sometimes we got to do baby steps because the food manufacturers and the grocers are a huge lobbyist group, maybe even as big as the pharmaceutical group. So we're on the right path.